Tempting fate, weird or what? If I were fate, I'd be pacing back and forth and biting my fingernails. Beside this event, any other situation that would interest quickly pales. There has been a rush on tickets for Ice Spirit, a Sven Nilsson's ship. This surely is an occasion fate and his accomplices can't let slip. He's been in touch with unfortunate coincidence, a friend of many a year. Accident and navigating error are two more acquaintances to appear. Piling on the pressure was still very active, nay, sometimes being quite frantic. Incredulously, this ship was going to relive the voyage of the Titanic. In a quest for authenticity, it is leaving the original port. The same Southampton mooring points are where the ropes are taut. Passengers, having paid from 2.5 up to a massive £5,000, will spend 12 days pacing on wooden decks instead of on dry land. One problem with creating the appropriate atmosphere is that these cruisers are drinking champagne rather than home-brewed beer, and nowhere to be seen are the common folk whose clothes have fed the moths. Instead, the passenger's manifest points to a load of wealthy toffs. They have added makeup and false moustaches and hired clothes of the era. The ship will sail for Cherbourg, but, unlike Titanic, will enter the harbour. Then on to Cobh to collect more folks from this southern Irish town. Then she will sail full speed for the point on the horizon where the sun goes down. The number of passengers, 1,316, is the same. The food is the same and quite grand. The organisers have taken the trouble to hire a similar 5-piece band. Fate and his pals are taking this in and rubbing their hands with glee. They have plenty of time to think something up. There are 12 days to go at sea. Among the more deeply thinking passengers, some question this voyage's efficacy. "Don't worry," says the captain, "the hull's double-bottomed and we're all looking after your safety. With watertight compartments, life rafts and lifeboats too, you can see we are determined to take the very best care of you." Greg and Amelia Fitzwarren wanted fresh air and were out on the bow pretending to fly. Suddenly, a flash of green light appeared and remained like a curtain across the sky. It moved and swayed and turned to blue, then back to green, whilst moving through the apex of the orb of the sky. "The Aurora," said Greg. "I ordered it specially for you." A sense of coldness in the air made Greg turn and look away to his right. He saw through the dark a ghostly ship, which chilled his blood with fright. He could only wonder about the significance of this fleeting apparition. Its vertical bow and 4 tall funnels made for fearful recognition. In St John's Harbour, Newfoundland, a huge top-secret craft was preparing to sail. Ocean Scavenger 2 was designed to find wrecks and recover, then recycle steel. It had additional flotation systems and hugely powerful motors kept on standby. Its dragging cable length was amazing, up to 5,000 metres of the strongest ply. Its job was to locate wrecked steel ships, then pay out the cable behind, sailing full speed away with extra flotation and supercharged power. You'd find its cable would tangle and then bring up debris for sorting and taking ashore. Then, when that task was completed, it moved on and followed this procedure once more. On the last day of sailing, the captain said that he would arrive at the location at night. His position will be true, as a geostationary satellite will feed coordinates which are right. In order to maintain position, he must hand control to the computer on the ship. As he points out to the cruisers, there's an override to use if their position should slip. Meanwhile, Ocean Scavenger 2 had been in the area testing equipment all day. Its captain, tempted by the Titanic wreck, thought this was where his cable should lay. Though his crew pointed out it was seen as a grave and shouldn't be disturbed, the thought of rewards for relics he'd find left him quite unperturbed. Now, both vessels were to experience a traumatic time in conditions far from normal. Someone should have thought of the unnatural cause of the exceptionally bright aurora. A tremendous outburst of a solar flare had released a huge magnetic pulse. Electrical effects on Earth were severe, but in space, satellites were knocked out of use. This meant that ships had to rely on radar and sonar to warn them of impending danger. What's worse is that some senior crew found chronometers and sextants stranger, because they had not been trained in the skill of astronavigation, i.e. using the stars. So it wasn't much use asking them to deduce which light was of no use, i.e. Venus and Mars. Ocean Scavenger 2 took advantage of this shutdown to move away from the place. As Ice Spirit was totally under manual control, it was difficult to hold her on base. Because the cruise ship was trying to stay still, the current caused a northerly drift. Ocean Scavenger 2 was moving that way. 2 miles further north was her shift. Her captain decided he was best away, so he switched to full reeling in mode. The motors were labouring and the cable quite taut as it struggled to drag up its load. The cruise ship folks gave a big cheer as this vessel suddenly accelerated away. In Ice Spirit's engine room came sounds from the depths. Just what was hard to say. It was a zip and a twang and a whoosh and a roar and an odd occasional boom. Then with a horrible crashing, a huge spear of metal burst into the engine room. As the cable had arced its way to the surface, it brought a jagged chunk of the wreck. As the water came in, the lights went out. Soon it was up to the lower deck. The stricken ship had been lengthened to accommodate a swimming pool. I'm not saying this was a weak spot, but the coincidence seemed very cruel, which was that this was precisely the point of impact on the starboard side, and the damage was such that watertight compartments wouldn't provide a time sufficient to keep the vessel afloat, steady and on an even keel. Even as the port lifeboats were being filled with women and children, it began to heel. "They are bound to happen," said Accident, as he saw lifeboats hauled out of the sea, then tip their contents down the side of the ship into water that was near to icy. "How's that for teamwork, lads?" said Fate to his pals, who had done an exceptional job. "I'll add further confusion," said Piling on the Pressure, whilst watching the lifeboats bob. "We couldn't let the occasion pass without helping their authenticity." To coin a very well-used phrase, the rest, as they say, is history.